in association with Farah Law School and collaborated with Moon Village Association. So we are all here together to celebrate the International Moon Day with a virtual lecture. So, and as I mentioned, it would be Farah Law School would be in associated with. So before that, I would like to introduce you with the Giuseppe Ralberi, who is the president of your Moon Village Association. So we have an introductory video from him, so I'll play that.
So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I am Giuseppe Reibaldi, and I'm the president of the Moon Village Association. Let me first of all thank all the organizers around the world for being part of the International Moon Day and for all the events that they are organizing. The Moon Village Association is an NGO which is registered in Vienna in 2017 and is acting as a unique platform to bring together space agency, government, industry representative, academia, international organization, and the public to discuss and conduct peaceful lunar exploration and utilization. It is a unique organization, and we had developing several activities, which is ranging from technical to economic, as well as to culture. But many details can be seen on the MVA website. MVA is also a permanent observer at the United Nations COPUOS, and in that respect has an important function and has given strong, important contribution. And one of these contributions is the proposal to create the International Moon Day. And this has been approved in a very fast way from the General Assembly in 2021. So detail of the International Moon Day and the theme, as well as all other information related to the International Moon Day, will be delivered by the chairman of the International Moon Day, Dr. Nasser Al-Saad. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the participants of this event. It's important that once a year, at least, people from all the world take the time to discuss within themselves and with the public what does it mean going forward to the moon, and what does it mean for humanity to harvest resources of the moon in a fair and sustainable way. Thank you, and I wish all of you a happy International Moon Day.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe. So there's one more introductory video from the chair of International Moon Day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the International Moon Day Global Celebrations. I am Nasr Sahaf, chair of the IMD group. Since the inception of the IMD through a declaration in December 2021 by the United Nations General Assembly, the IMD has been celebrated worldwide every year in more than 50 nations. Every year since 2022, there is a theme. Then it was lunar exploration, coordination, and sustainability. In 2023, it was beginning the new lunar journey. In 2024, it was illuminating the shadows. And this year, it's one moon, one vision, one future. IMD is a special opportunity to raise awareness and educate the public on the status and prospects for humanity's exploration and sustainable activities on the moon. IMD events foster increased global awareness, cooperation, and coordination among stakeholders worldwide, and promote increased participation towards this goal for future generations. Our main event this year in 2025 is held at the University of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, home of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center and the UAE Space Agency in Abu Dhabi. I wish you all a very successful IMD Global event in your country, wherever this may be. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much for the Nasser. Okay, so now let's start with our lecture. I would like to introduce our speaker. I'll start with the Laquita. So she's a national coordinator for the Trinidad and Tobago at Moon Village Association. She's also the founder of Mission 8, a nonprofit that promotes sustainable space exploration. With a background in competitive law, her interest lies in research at the intersection of law, emerging technology, and sustainable exploration.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Purvika, for your kind introduction, and thank you, Farah, for inviting me to present here today. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Lakuta. Okay, so let's introduce our second speaker. It's Xavier. Xavier is passionate about advancing humanity through science, focusing on the sustainable space and manufacturing industries. He holds a PhD in the microaerial vehicles, focus on autonomous navigation. He has a master's in autonomous machines, holds a 2 bachelor's degree in a telematic and another in sustainable management for aerospace application. He has professional experience in digital manufacturing, AI, space missions, sustainability space, and extended reality. His research focuses on applying circular economy model to extend the lifespan on space and on Earth. He's a part of Space Safety Sustainability Project Group from SDAC, like a research coordinator. Hi, Xavier.
Hi, thank you for this invitation. It's my pleasure to be here. Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Xavier. So the last but not the least speaker, Farah. She is an indigenous Madurese Indonesian, serving as a president and the founder of Farah Law School and legislative drafter for the Indonesian House of Representatives. She has been involved in almost 100 projects and events, and mostly in the leadership roles. So let's begin and lift off the lecture today with the topic of lunar exploration opportunities for emerging nations, legal and technical approaches. I'll start with the presentation. Platform, over to you, Laquita.
Did Farah want to say hello first?
And for the speakers and also for the moderators. Love to see you all here. Yes, the floor is yours, Laquita. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. One moment, please. Okay, yes. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening again, everyone. Today we will be discussing the opportunity that we have as emerging nations to seize our place in space and on the moon. Space and the moon are no longer reserved to major spacefaring nations. The door has been opened. We must resolve to walk through it. Over the next 15 minutes, I will discuss the Caribbean perspective. Next slide, please. Aspirational goals must weather the storm of doubt and the gravity of the present. The Caribbean region's involvement in space exploration undoubtedly cannot compare to the legacy of countries of the global north, equipped with expertise and resources. Yet, as the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the late Dr. Eric Williams, once stated, the humblest antecedents are not inconsistent with greatness of soul. The Caribbean has always proven one thing. When we come together, we are resilient. We faced storms, economic shocks, and global crises, and still we rise. We are indeed small in size, our resources are undeniably limited, and we admittedly have many other pressing priorities. But these challenges don't disqualify us from space or lunar exploration. They qualify us for innovation. What we need now is a shift in how we think, in how we educate, and in how we plan. Today's presentation will begin with a focus on some of our region's strategic advantages and the benefits to be derived from our involvement in this industry. We will then explore some of the transformations required to support the development of this industry in our region. Next slide, please. Starting with our strategic advantages, our proximity to the equator means that the Caribbean is an ideal location from which to launch satellites. We can exploit the slingshot effect of the Earth's rotation to optimize the efficiency of launches. Secondly, our location makes it strategically advantageous for tracking and monitoring launches from other locations. Depending on the azimuth, our region offers unobstructed views of launch trajectories. Finally, as a major shipping route, our region's ability to monitor maritime activities can be leveraged, track, and manage diverse threats, such as space debris to space assets. Leading spacefaring nations are actively exploring our region as a gateway to space. It is therefore incumbent upon us to carefully assess these opportunities, act boldly, and shape the future on our own terms to secure long-term benefits for our people, economies, and region, empowering generations to come. Next slide, please. Lunar exploration presents manifold benefits for us on Earth. I'll focus on two areas: disaster preparedness and management, and agriculture. Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has led to improvements in satellite-based Earth observation, which is used to detect and monitor disasters and coordinate disaster relief logistics. In the wake of hurricanes, many island nations in our region are left reeling. Communities are displaced, economies shattered, and ecosystems destroyed. Response efforts are often crippled by limited resources, poor coordination, and inefficient distribution. Together, these factors lead to stalled recovery efforts, and before we can rebuild, the next hurricane season hits. In an era of unprecedented technological advancement, these innovative tools are game changers. They empower us to prepare, respond faster, and recover smarter. In the context of agriculture, sensors developed to analyze regolith have contributed Sensors developed to analyze regolith have contributed to advancements in technology that measures soil moisture, pH, nutrient content, optimizes fertilizer water use, and improves crop yield predictors. Agriculture is the cornerstone of economic stability, job security, and food security in the Caribbean. Climate change, soil degradation, and dependence on outdated techniques threaten this lifeline. Modernizing this industry with data innovation and smarter practices will enable us to forge more resilient futures. Next slide, please. The question then becomes, what type of infrastructure must we co-create to cultivate the conditions in the Caribbean that will allow a vibrant space industry to emerge and deliver lasting benefits to the region? I will focus on three key areas. Next slide, please. Starting with the legal and policy frameworks, we have the opportunity to define our role. This demands a foundational shift in how we govern space-related activities. Currently, there is minimal infrastructure for space-related activities. Only a few territories have any formal relationship with global space treaty, and national legislation is often non-existent or outdated. This legal gap makes it difficult to attract investment or participate meaningfully in international collaboration. How do we fix this? Firstly, in order to signal commitment to peaceful use, liability, responsibility, and transparency, we should start by ratifying key international agreements. These would include the 5 UN space treaties, which are the Outer Space Treaty, the Magna Carta, the Liability Convention, the Registration Convention, the Moon Agreement, and the Rescue Agreement. We can also consider other international agreements, such as the Artemis Accords. And I point out here that of the 56 countries that have signed the Artemis Accords, the only independent nation from our region that has signed them is the Dominican Republic. Secondly, we need to develop comprehensive regional and domestic frameworks so as to offer certainty to investors and innovators alike. Sustainable and ethical principles need to be woven into the fabric of these frameworks. We must ensure that all key stakeholders are at the table when we discuss the formulation of these laws, policies, and guidelines. We need to identify central pillars of governance for our sustainable involvement in space and lunar exploration. These can include intergenerational equity and cultural preservation, for example. We must align our laws, policies, and guidelines with international space law. We must tailor these policies, laws, and guidelines to meet our unique context and needs. We must organize workshops and training programs to educate stakeholders on the implications of these laws, policies, and guidelines, and how they can incorporate these in their own contracts moving forward. We must establish incentives to encourage buy-in from stakeholders. And we must set up monitoring and review mechanisms to assess the continued effectiveness of the framework we established. Next slide, please. The second key area we must consider is regional and international collaboration. We must build in cooperation, not competition. Again, we need to bring all key stakeholders to the table for our discussions as we chart our way forward. I'll highlight a few initiatives that exist already. We currently have the Latin American and Caribbean Space Agency, which was established in 2021. However, not all of our nations are part of it. There have also been partnerships between local academic institutions and UN agencies. For example, the University of the West Indies and UNUSA partnering to establish a regional support office to guide disaster risk management and advance sustainable development in the Caribbean. We've also got the China CELAC Forum, which was established in 2014, and its Joint Action Plan for Cooperation in Key Areas for the period 2022 to 2024 included strengthening cooperation in the field of space and promoting the establishment of the China, Latin American, and Caribbean States Space Cooperation Forum, which was officially launched in April 2024. Lastly, the University of Technology in Jamaica, together with a number of regional and international partners, held a Sustainable Futures Forum to discuss the development of the Caribbean spaces. Next slide, please. So what do we need? We need further regional engagement to forge a robust network that can effectively address the various needs that can and will inevitably arise as we embark upon this journey. We need regional space bodies. They could fall under the CARICOM or the OCS and represent the region at the Latin American and Caribbean Space Agency. We should consider establishing national space authorities. We should also create research institutes within or independent of established universities to facilitate regional collaboration. We should organize regular workshops akin to the Caribbean Sustainable Futures Forum organized by UTech Jamaica to continue engaging in discussions on these issues. And finally, we need to develop funding mechanisms to support these efforts. Next slide, please. The third key area focuses on building capacity and expertise. In order to launch a legacy, we must build local capacity and expertise. Once more, ethical standards and sustainability should inform every step forward. We must invest in research and workforce development, and this could include investing in STEM education and creating pathways for future generations to ensure that we have a skilled workforce and places to put them. We also need to build local programs and mission control systems. We need to develop ground-based infrastructure, such as satellite data processing facilities. And of course, we need to partner with established organizations to leverage existing technology, participate in training programs and joint missions, etc. Ultimately, the development of robust infrastructure must be viewed as part of a broader strategic vision that unlocks the full potential of this industry in our region. Next slide, please. In conclusion, we belong in space and on the moon. The rules have changed, the barriers are lower, the possibilities are greater. We should not limit ourselves to merely chasing stars for prestige. Instead, it is our responsibility to build knowledge that uplifts people, protects our planet, and advances peace. So it's time to dream boldly, re-educate ourselves and each other, and take intentional, strategic steps toward a future where the Caribbean and other emerging nations are not merely on the periphery, but are actively shaping the unfolding story of humanity in space and on the moon. Let's claim our place together. Neither space nor the moon is beyond us. It's our next frontier. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakwita. So now I would like to call Xavier for the continuation of the presentation.
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, well, in this case, I'm going to talk about what is the lunar exploration with a technical approach. The next slides, please. Well, like I mentioned, I be part of the Space Safety and Sustainability Project Group, which is led by Mahat Nayed and Trevor Owen. I be part like a research coordinator, and my principal activities is foster collaboration with different members in order to create these international change ideas and also to encourage research activities and follow different research activities. For example, this is the principal highlights for the last year, in which I'm going to share some ideas related for the sustainability strategic development and also to technological approaches. Next slide, please. Well, this first is to develop a circular design framework for sustainable space objects design, in which try to define a different stages in which describe and use the sustainability strategies based on the 10 strategies framework, in which try to involve all the different stakeholders and also to split in the different areas. To the principal achievement is to obtain adequate use of the resources and also to develop these adequate raw materials in order to develop space objects, because the principal strategy is to improve the sustainability and also to reduce the negative impact of the environment. Next slide, please. Also, other paper is to try to create a strategy in order to create habitats on Mars. This strategy or this strategic sustainability approach allows us to identify what is the principal factor, or what we can to create this strategic plan in order to highlight the specific strategies in order to conquer these activities on Mars. The main contribution of this paper is to create the adequate use of the raw materials in order to identify what is the opportunities we identify in order to develop the technological developments in order to achieve these goals. The next slide, please. Also, we are writing and participate in order to develop the biomaterials aerospace sustainable index, in which allow us to identify different dimensions, in which each dimension have a specific feature. For example, in this proposal, we identify 4 dimensions, in which, for example, the principal dimension is the mechanical properties, because we try to identify how we can mimic the nature features for in order to replicate it in the space object design. Also, we evaluate different sustainable impacts in order to reduce the negative impact, and also to try to mimic these activities to in aerospace activities. For example, in this proposal, we analyze different biomaterials in order to replicate the different activities, and also to create and develop novel technologies, in also to keep that sustainability development, and also to create different approaches using this type of strategic factors in order to develop a novel solutions. This is the different strategies we are employing in these different developments, and also now we can to continue. Next slide, please. How we can use the technological system. For example, can you play the video, please? For example, in this video, I'm going to share how we can use a virtual reality in order to design and develop novel technologies using this type of technologies, digital technologies, because this allows us to create and evaluate, and also to even to improve the current technologies using this type of technologies, because we can to define and also to describe abstract concepts in a specific ideas in order to transmit what we expect, and also to evaluate these type of technologies in order to evaluate if the adequate innovation, and try to track the sustainability using these type of technologies. For example, in this case, we participate in a development to create removal debris mission using robotic systems, and which involves different technological, digital technological areas, in which allow us to describe what is the interaction with this removal mission in the current environment. Also, this allows us for emerging countries. In this case, I'm in Mexico. This allows us to imagine and get how we can develop these type of technologies to reduce and also to leverage the raw materials, because these type of materials are limited. For this reason, we can to design and evaluate, and also to reduce the cost, because using this type of digital technologies, we can reduce the cost investment in order to continue the development before to require some economic investment. For this reason, I consider this opportunity for emerging countries interested to aerospace activities to evaluate using strategic plans and leverage digital technologies in order to evaluate different fields and issues, and also to try to continue with the development of this area, because sometimes we consider that principal limitation of these aerospace activities is the resources. For this reason, we are exploring to use these type of technologies to continue with the exploration of the researchers. The next slide, please. For this reason, previous using these technologies, the strategical sustainability plans with the digital technologies, we are exploring how we can use these both keys in order to create a strategic plan for cislunar habitat through sustainable technological analysis. In this case, the principal highlights, we identify the economic, employing a multi-criteria make decision approach, in which allow us to identify what is the current situation in the economic about around the moon. In the principally, it is principal is a cislunar activities area, in which, according to the sustainable approach, we can evaluate what suggests to give the adequate priority, because sometimes we need to evaluate the different factors in these sustainable activities, especially in the space. We consider a complex environment, a complex system. For the reason we need to identify the different variables we need to evaluate to determine what is the adequate strategy we need to follow in order to employ the adequate use of the resources. For this reason, in this paper, we can to employ this type of strategic, sustainable strategies in order to order and give a priority in order to develop the constant evolution. For example, according to this approach, we identify that principal priority is the reduction of the transport cost via in-situ resource use of, because according to the current developments, we identified the use of the local materials is the principal research or continuous disinvestment of the resources in continuous the development of the adequate use of the local use of the materials, because this allows us to continue with the different strategies in the economical, because at the end we need to create and also to create this value to continue and receive investment and also to scale these type of activities. The next slide, please. Now, in the social dimension, we identified it's important to involve the all stakeholders. For example, according to this multi-criterial evaluation, we identify that the ability for the communication link is essential for continue and also to communication effectiveness with different individuals we are collaborating is essential to continue with the development of this of international collaboration. And also, this allows us to identify what we declare to attend before in order to continue. For example, some technologies is only focused to develop technology, but it don't identify what is the principal gap we are covering. For this reason, this allows us to identify what is to attend before to continue with the next. The next slide, please. Now, in the environmental dimension, we have to identify what is the different gaps according to the current development, because some development, especially the technological or environmental approaches, is only focused on a specific goal. However, we don't consider the different areas, for example, the economic, the social, what is the impact for the stakeholders. For this reason, the current literature based on of the principal papers on academic point of view, we only identify limited scientific resources, because the principal contribution is a technological or identify benefits in a specific area. However, if we involve the different dimension, the contribution is limited. For this reason, we order what is the principal priority according to the environmental dimension in order to advance and cover the different dimension we are proposed in order to create this sustainability in the moon area. The next slide, please. Finally, the technological dimension. We describe what is the current technological allow us to involve of the different areas in which to increase the activities in the moon with this sustainable approach. The idea is to create this collaboration with other dimension and also allow us to reduce the double the force and also to leverage the adequate use of the resources. Finally, according to these strategies, we can to imagine employing the virtual reality in the next video. We can to imagine how we can employ in these strategies in order to create the exploration on the moon, employing and evaluate the difference, for example, in this case, the difference biomaterials, how we can use it to create this structural on the moon, and also how we can employ in the different stakeholders around the different activities in order to create this circularity around the different economics in the moon. also we can to allow us to identify what is the different strategies in which allow to create this scalability, because at the end we need to obtain benefits for economical and social, environmental, and the technological dimension. This allows us to obtain this idea. For this reason, the principal contribution of these technological advances is to employing the digital technologies specific for the developing countries, which allow us to imagine, design, and propose different alternatives in order to develop the different technologies which allow us to achieve this type of experience in the coming years. Because the idea is to employ in this technology, however, we need to a strategic plan based on of the sustainability, which allow us to advance for the humanity and also to meets the principal needs for the humanity and all around the spaces with life with us, in order to improve the quality of life and also to reduce the negative impact for the environment. Well, this is my principal contribution. The idea is to use the sustainable strategies and also to try to create the collaboration with digital technologies, which allow us to continue the development of this area in order to create the future for the next generations. Well, thank you. Well, this is my final comments of these technologies, and well, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Xavier. So now I would like to call Farah for the next presentation. Farah, over to you.
Thank you, Profika. Thank you, Akita and Nafir, for your amazing presentation and for moderating today's event. So hi everyone, I'm Farah, the third speaker, and I'm glad to speak at our third virtual lecture to celebrate International Moon Day along with the International Moon Day Committee, Moon Village Association, and the United Nations Office for Space Affairs. Both Laquita and Hafir already shared very engaging and insightful presentations. Here, I just want to add a little regarding opportunities for emerging nations based on the Moon Agreement of 1979. And please, next. Next again. Previous slide. Amazing. So to understand the objectives and ideals of an instrument in this matter is the Moon Agreement, we need to check the preamble. There are two lines connect our discussion today. The fourth line about equality in cooperation, and the eighth line about defining and developing international instruments. And both are to support mankind's activities on the moon and other celestial bodies, but here we can focus on the moon only. So what exactly is equality in cooperation and defining and developing international instruments? Okay, so we can explore the connection mainly in Article 2 and Article 4 of the Moon Agreement. And we can move to Article 2. Please, next slide. Click next again, please. Okay, amazing. I already highlighted some phrases here: exploration and use, international law, and cooperation and mutual understanding. Here, the exploration and use are the activities on the moon, that economic as commercial and research are the outcomes, and then cooperation and mutual understanding are the goals or ideals. Then the interests of all are the basis of equality. And also about international law. International law will act as a parameter. So what does it mean then? When we address research, it is not only research. It must meet mutual understanding. The same goes for commercial or other economic efforts. They shall be defined as cooperation. Those actualizations should be defined and developed by international law. Then international law will act as a parameter. I mean, it's something like limitation on what extent and freedom to what extent. And the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Then Article 4. The province of all mankind, or the locus, is the basis of equality, and the benefits and interests of all countries are also the basis of equality. But what makes this one is different from the earlier? So this one, I mean, the benefits and interests of all countries is for all countries. So if you want to see, the previous one is for only for state parties. And yeah, they separate the articles, Article 2 and Article 4, to make difference about the subjects. And then they add about time for the present and future generations as the basis of equality and goals or ideals. And of course, and then cooperation and mutual assistance as the goals or ideals. Then what can we, the international community as stakeholders, especially the emerging nations can do? Please, next slide. In short term, there are 3 feasible actions. We can run joint research and collaborative projects within the United Nations platform or their committee of permanent observers, such as the Space Federation Observatory Council introduced by the PEER and Moonfield Association by Laikuita. And then as the main actor, countries, governments, or the space agencies can conduct those 2 actions under international, multilateral, and/or bilateral contracts. And then next, please, next slide. Okay. Then for the long-term feasible actions, we can manage those special scientific interests as mentioned in Article 7, Paragraph 3 of the Moon Agreement, and the managed and unmanaged stations based on Article 9, Paragraph 1 for the research and economic activities on the Moon through the use of an international regime by establishing it first, of course. Because if you review the Article 11 on paragraphs 5, 6, and 7, you will find that this body also managed those research activities along with exploitation aspects. And please, next. Yeah, I only use the Moon Agreement, so the long name of the Moon Agreement, just in case this lecture is new for some of us. The long name of Moon Agreement is Agreement Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of the Moon and Other Celestial Bodies, 1979. Okay. Yes, to work up, cooperation and mutual understanding are the ideal state of the mankind's activities on the Moon under the international law parameter. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. And back to our amazing moderator, Rufika.
Thank you so much, Farah. It was indeed a very engaging presentation from you and the other speakers. So now I would like to ask our participants if they have any questions for our speakers. You can put it on chat so that we can read. Okay. So I have a question for Lakuta. So you said that about in your presentation, and I have a question regarding what are the key challenges that you can put it on to explore activities in the Caribbean?
Thank you for that question. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, sure. I'll just repeat now. You mentioned about the Caribbean and the space exploration activities there. So could you mention about some of the key challenges that we can face over there? Yeah.
Certainly. Okay. So I think I can highlight 2 of them. Generally, of course, we've got financial constraints. Even though the barriers have been lowered and there are private space actors involved in the industry now, the costs are still relatively high. Well, they're still high for us. And I think one of the ways that we can try to alleviate that burden is to work together as a region versus as individual countries. And the second issue would be technological constraints as well. So we have a steep learning curve that we need to overcome. And that'll take us some time to get that knowledge and expertise. And that can be built by partnering with established space agencies and joining in joint programs so that we get to learn from them before we can build our own. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really a great answer. So another question that I have for the FERA is why do you mention about the international contract instead of international agreement in the short-term actions? So yeah, can you please explain that?
Okay, thank you. So I said contracts because it's for operational and technical purposes, not that instrument. I mean, as agreement that focuses on substantive implication to produce more instruments, or especially like more binding instruments, something like that. So this one is just for technical purposes, support the activities or the implementation. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We would also like to know your references that you mentioned about the Article 4, Article 2 and Article 4. So it would be really helpful for our participants if you could also share the reference, the links for the articles for more information.
Yeah, you might found all the instruments, mainly about the United Nations instruments in United Nations Treaty. There you will find a lot of international law, international space law instruments that originally come from the state parties back then and the Secretary General. So yes, that's my main sources so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farah. The last question for the Xavier. So why is important as a sustainable strategy? Like, what are its benefits? Like, how could it be beneficial in the future run?
Yeah, well, considering a strategic plan with a sustainable approach, this allows us to leverage the limited raw materials that we have in the nature or around of us, and also to involve all the stakeholders in order to obtain the circularity around these approaches, and also to give the development of the technological novel technologic because allow us to identify the priority, which allow us to forward the next step in order to meet the needs of the societies or the humanity. And also this allows us to order the priority in order to give the equilibrium of the environmental, because we mitigate the negative impact for the environment. For this reason, this strategy allows us to these opportunities leverage this type of um, strategies to obtain the next step for the conquer of the moon, or this develop these type of activities around the cislunar area, considering the moon. This is the benefits of these strategic developments.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our participants do have some questions. Filbert is asking, is the moon treat, is the moon is that the moon treat or the agreement relevant to developing countries such as Africa? What could be its benefit for rectifying it? I think it's for Farah, so you can take it.
Yes, because I think if we see it now, it might be not really relevant for not only for emerging nations but all nations, because when we talk about moon fission, moon agreement is such a long journey. It should be a long-term journey actually. It's going to be like 15 years or minimum 20 years. So if we only see it in at a glance, so since there is no relevance at the moment, but if we review all the formulations or the stipulations, we may find that this agreement actually want to accommodate those gaps between nations, regardless of their economic or scientific development and so on. So that's why Moon Agreement is here. So if you want to check again in the preamble, you might find that one of the missions of the Moon Agreement, like as I stated earlier, is to promote cooperation between countries. So of course, it's doesn't matter whether we are the emerging nations or we are the leading nations. The main purposes of Moon Agreement is to accommodate those gaps. By what? One of the effort is we should establish international regime. I mean, there are two types of international regime, as a instrument or as a body. As an instrument, we already have Moon Agreement, and as the body, as the institution, we are still need to establish it. So yes, those international regime as the body that we can find in Article 11 will help us to accommodate those exploitation and exploration of the moon, not only in the natural resources actually, but also in research. We can find it in the Article 11, paragraph 5, 6, and 7 that also mentions about the responsibilities, the roles of the international regime. So I do think that the benefits will come after a few years. It's such a long journey, I know. But if you only see this now, we might see, oh, there is no benefit. Yeah, I totally understand that. Even in country like not only in Africa, but every emerging countries, I think might think the same because only some leading countries could reach the moon at the moment, but it doesn't mean that we cannot make it happen forever. It's just a temporary moments. So thank you. I hope it answers your questions, Gilbert. Back to Purvika.
Thank you. Just one more question from the Robin, if I'm pronouncing it right. So he's asking that emerging nation tends to latch on an initiative being led by well-developed space agencies and countries. While this makes sense for where they are, and there any areas that emerging space countries can be pioneer in? So, yeah. Should I repeat the question? Is it? I think Xavier, you can take this question. Is it the emerging nation tends to latch on to initiatives being led by well-developed space agencies and countries, while this makes sense for where they are? And are there any areas that emerging space countries can be pioneer in?
Yeah, well, we are in a specific point, we are all the countries is because we can, for example, we can to leverage digital technologies in which my research area, in which leverage these type of technologies, we can be pioneer because the current technologies is only focused in a specific area. For example, the virtual reality, according to my experience, is only focused for game development. However, we can to use it to training robotic systems, different spacecraft, or another activities. We can use it, these technologies to explore all these alternatives. For this reason, I consider the current statement we are this allows us to develop different strategies because the current technologies is only focused in a specific area. But if we considering these technologies for resolve that issues we face in other specific areas like space activities, we can to reduce and also to contribute in the development of these areas, and also only not satisfy specific areas in which well, I consider this opportunity to spend resources on these technologies to reduce the branch of the emerging countries, in which allow us to develop novel technologies based on of these type of technologies, and even this allow us to create novel technologies using these technologies like AI, virtual reality, or other enable technologies in which allow us to reduce this bond for the emerging, because sometimes for the emerging country, we consider that economic resources is essential, but it's not necessary because we can to create these strategies in order to develop and create novel solutions to reduce this principal issue we face in order to when we talk about to develop space objects, for example. For this reason, I consider this is important for us, considering these technologies to develop the solution for emerging countries.
Thank you, Xavier. Okay, so I guess, Robin, we are able to answer your question. So thank you so much, everyone. And before concluding the session, I would request all the participants to, if they're possible, to switch on their camera for a group photo. And then we would be followed by a feedback form. So yeah, it's a group photo session time. So I would request the participants and the speaker to be there for a group session photo. So yeah, Farah, is it fine? So we'll take the screenshot here, or we'll wait for the participants if they wanted to switch on the camera.
I feel very. A lot of familiar face here. Please turn on your camera, everyone. I'd love to see your faces, beautiful faces. Yeah. Okay, I think we can start right now. Or
yeah, sure.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Smile, everyone. Yeah. Smile, smile, smile. Come on, smile. Okay, done. Back to Pavika. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was indeed a very engaging presentations. We got to learn. Sorry?
Oh, it was my friend,
Okay.
Gilbert.
Okay, so yeah, we got to learn in the aspect of our technological as well as the legal aspect and how we can go forward for the sustainable development. So thank you so much. I'll be sharing that feedback form and that attendance link soon.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, the attendance link is out, so feel free to fill out the form. Thank you. Thank you, Yafir, Ufika, and Pita for coming. Bye. See you again in another opportunity.